What is the best type of leather to use for laser engraving? This is not an easy question because there's so many different types of leather out there, but I'm going to give it a try to answer it in this video. Hi everyone, my name is Bruce from Coop Equateur. We are a bag and wallet company here in Cape Town, South Africa. We make personalized bags, wallets and other accessories, and we use a laser engraving machine that we bought from Max Laser. It's a Beambox model, and Max Laser asked us to do a few videos about our experiences, and so we decided to make one here about the type of leather that we find is best for laser engraving. I've already made a video about chrome tan leather and the issues around that. Some people say you should never use chrome tan leather in a laser machine, but we haven't had any problems, and we made a video about that. So we're gonna then go into some more details about the different types of leather that we use and different how it looks on the laser engraving machine. And for a start, let's just try this piece here. It's a piece of scrap that we found in the studio. You can see the pattern on there, which shows that it's a full grain leather, which means it isn't buffed or sanded before it goes into the tanning process. It's a soft, so we call it Nappa Leather. Okay, so it's a soft leather like this. And it is, like most leather, it is chrome tan as well. So let's give it a try. We're going to cut something out and engrave something on it and have a look at how it turns out. Okay, so here is the sample that we have engraved, that piece of scrap leather that we found around the studio. You can see where it has been laser cut on the edges, it's curling up a little bit, and that does happen sometimes with this Nappa leather. The text itself doesn't look too bad, but it has been burned by the laser, and so that dark color is actually soot, which needs to be removed if we want to see how it is going to turn out in use on an item, because it's gonna come off. So what we're going to do is we're going to get that soot off the edges just using a baby wipe, and then I'm just going to use an ordinary razor, and we're going to erase the text and see how it turns out underneath that burnt leather there. And you can see one of the issues is the color of the leather coming through underneath is quite similar to the color of the finished layer on top, and so it doesn't actually turn out that well. Also, this pattern of the leather on top doesn't help matters, and you can see how that laser engraved text doesn't really appear so well there. To finish it off, and it can make quite a difference, we're going to use some of this stuff, which is Nappa, which is a leather balsam. Use a bit of sheep wool, dab a bit in there, and put it over the leather, like this. Okay, and sometimes it makes quite a difference. It's made a bit of a difference there. It's not too bad. But still not great, not great distinctiveness between the actual laser engraved text and the top. This wouldn't really work so well on an item, a wallet or whatever. So this is just kind of a trial to get us going, and we're going to try a bunch of different types of leathers now, go through each of them, and then do the same thing, cut out this rectangle, engrave the text on it, and we're going to compare all those different types. Right, let's get going with testing a few different types of leather now. Okay, we're in Cape Town, and there are two outlets that we use the most. They are Woodheads, which is very well known in Cape Town. They got quite a big range. And the other one is Leatherlink, which is a smaller outlet, but they have a type of leather that we really like. And I'll tell you about that now. Okay, so let's have a look. So the first one we're going to test is this one. This is a full grain aniline leather. It's a beautiful kind of tan color. And Leather Link, which is where we get it from, they call it Mikado. It's a really nice leather. So it's a bit more rigid than that other sample that we used before, that other Nappa. We would also call this Nappa as well. It's a chrome tanned leather and it's a full grain aniline, and you can see the nice pattern on there, not as exaggerated as the other one, but just a nice pattern, and it has some patches which are a little smoother. It's a beautiful leather, so that's going to be one of our samples. Another one of our samples is going to be this type of leather here. Okay, so this is what we call a Veglook leather, and it's Leatherlink sells this Veglook, and they call this one wheat. I don't know why, because wheat is not this color. Okay, so we call it sienna, and sienna is a slightly reddish color which describes this leather. You can see the finish is really nice and smooth, so they finish it off to make it nice and smooth, and it's called a Veglook because it looks like a veg tan and it feels like a veg tan, slightly rigid, but it's actually a chrome tan. So it means it's fully chrome tan leather, you know, there are a huge number of variations that you can do in the tanning process, and how do you finish it off and all sorts of things. So they do something that makes this chrome tan end up looking and feeling like a veg tan. Okay, so this is going to be another one of our samples, and we're going to take two more colors in this, the black as well, and then a lighter color which we call the tawny color. And we're going to see how those turn out. Okay, so there's our first little sample, and on top of that we're going to have 7. The one I just showed you, 3 of these, so that's 4. This is number 5, and we get this from Woodheads, and this is the Veg Retan, and they call it a Veg Retan because it first goes through the chrome tanning process, and it comes out of there as what they call a wet blue. Okay, so that's chrome tan, but then after that it's vegetable tan. It's using veg extract in a finishing plant, really, a tannery, which is kind of really a finishing plant because it buys the wet blue from the big plants, how it happens here in South Africa, and you get this result. So it's slightly more matte finish compared to our Veglook. It's a more matte finish, and there's quite a few different colors as well that Woodheads sell. And they call it their urban range, and there's sort of 3 different sub ranges in there, and there's one called the Urban Classic, and the other one's slightly thinner, and there are a few different colors as well. So that's the Veg Retan, quite nice as well. And then the last one, that's number 5, and then this is number 6. So this is our Veg Tan. I don't actually have a thinner skin, so I'm just showing you the thicker skin. So this is a 3.5 mil Veg Tan, and you can see the Veg Tan's got a pretty distinctive look. Okay, so this is pure Veg Tan. Well, let's just kind of qualify that there. You know, the minority of Veg Tans are pure Veg Tan, which means that they don't get chrome tanned at all, but some Veg Tan which are sold as Veg Tan do actually have some chrome tanning in them. I'm not sure about this one, if it does go through some chrome tanning as well, but anyway, it's sold as Veg Tan. And what we're going to do, this is going to be number 6, and then for number 7 we're going to cut a piece off, and we are going to soak it in water and let it soak really through, leave it out a little bit, let it start to dry, sort of dry to the touch, and put it in the laser machine, and it's going to give a little bit of a different effect. Okay, so our first little sample, number 1, and then 7 more of these going to give 8, and then we're going to do a little comparison. Okay, so here are our results, our 8 samples, and this is the first sample that we just did that I showed you, and you can see the results are not great. It does make a difference how you angle it to the light there, so it does look a little bit better when you change the angle, but it's not great. And also because of this pattern on there, you kind of lose the text as well as the different color. Okay, moving on to the other ones. So this is the full grain Analine Mikado, and it's a bit better because there's less grain there, so it does turn out a bit better. And if I hold it closer and I change the angle a bit, you can see it's not too bad, but the problem is that the underlying color of the leather matches quite closely the leather on top. So it's not so distinctive, not that great. A beautiful leather, but it doesn't seem to engrave that well. We actually have made aprons out of this, and the engraving turned out really nicely. I think better than this, looked a bit darker. So it can vary, I guess. These three now are our Veglook leathers. So that is the chrome tan leather, which looks like a Vegtan. And you can see they turn out really well. So have a look at the black. So the thing about the black is the leather color that you're getting underneath is actually lighter than the black on top. And if you change the angle, then it comes out really well. You can see that angle comes out really nicely. And sometimes it's actually, people like black and they like to engrave the text on the black, and it works out quite well. The nice thing about this Veglook is that the finish is really smooth. So when you do engrave it, then you can see the text comes out really well. And even pictures also come out really nicely. So there's the sienna, what Leatherlink call their wheat. And then this is the tawny, and you can see how nicely that comes out. So the lighter color, this is the tawny, and you can see how beautifully that text comes out there. Really nice contrast between that top smooth layer on the leather and the color of the text there, which remains a little bit darker. This is the Vegtan. No, not great. You can see there's quite a kind of a texture of the underlying leather coming through. So it's not that smooth there. Somehow it looks a little bit kind of grainy under there. And of course the problem is the color as well. The color of the leather and the color of the engraving is kind of similar. Again, depends on your angle. But that's the Vegtan, not that great. This is the straight Vegtan, and I think that turned out really nicely. Look at that. Very nice, straight Vegtan. And this is when you put the Vegtan in some water, you soak it really nicely through, and then you engrave it, and it takes away all of that dark sort of soot coming through there and leaves this nice emboss effect there. The problem with this is that it does change the texture of the leather, so the leather gets kind of quite rigid, a little bit brittle there, so that's not so great. Okay, but overall, if we compare, then I think these two are probably the best here. This is the tawny color from Leatherlink, and then this is the Vegtan coming from Woodheads. Disadvantage, as I've mentioned, is that the Vegtan is more expensive, and this one is cheaper, and it's smoother also. The texture is smoother on top, but it's pretty much those two. And I think the sienna also turned out really well. Okay, so I hope that answers your question on what type of leather is the best to laser engrave. Of course, we could go on, looking at a whole lot of different types of leather and everything, but I think I've tried to touch kind of the main things and the main types of leather and what we have found was helpful in our work. So I hope you enjoyed it. Next time, we're going to have a look at engraving pictures. If there's anything you want to ask or whatever, feel free to pop me a question. Bruce at Cooper Couture. All the best. See you next time. Bye-bye.